My name's Chris.
Guten Tag. Oh, hold on. That's not Danish. Hi.
Well done.
That's Danish for hello.
And who are you?
Hi. I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it's Danish week.
And I'm forgetting who I am.
You forget who you were, right? That's
I'm
what
just
always
so
happens.
excited.
You're so excited for Danish week because you've forgotten your existence.
Queen Sandy. Fuck Princess Mary. We've got Queen Sandy in the tent.
Queen Sandy talks fig. She's all over this. Unusual week this week. A really, really, really unusual week this week.
But I found quite enjoyable. And again, we're getting all different kinds of bakes, which is great.
And we'll get into them obviously in a minute, I thought that the technical was one of the worst technicals I've ever seen. And I thought the showstopper was bloody brilliant.
Pappelig hesten. That means just pat the horse, which means it's a Danish expression. It just means just calm down.
Queen of the accents right here, right?
Yeah.
As our listeners to our Canadian series will tell you, this is the Queen of the accents. She's a Virgie Award winner for accents.
I know, which is a bit of an atslugen camel, which means it feels like swallowing a camel, which is the equivalent of our expression of it's a hard pill to swallow for you. You know, that I've won Virgies.
Moving on.
Robert's won Virgies.
Oh, shut up. Everyone's won Virgies except for me. Anyway, so the credits. I loved Noel and Sandy as the Vikings, and especially Noel as the princess.
Yes,
and I loved
bit of Brynhilde Noel.
Brunhilde. And I loved where Sandy to say this is Danish week in Danish, and she does it, and Noel's like, "That's amazing. How do you even do that?" And Sandy's like, "I just speak."
She also has like a ready to go Gimli cosplay, ready to go for next
100%.
Comic-Con. Like
100% ready. I kind of loved the tribute to John.
I know the shirts, everyone coming in the beautiful, colourful shirts. That was lovely.
It was the last wonderful thing we saw, but it was lovely.
I'm glad they went with that and then didn't come in going, "We're Welsh."
We're Welsh. I wanted someone to come in dressed like a dragon. I would have paid
someone
for
come dressed as a leek.
Yeah. What they seem to have done, though, was adopt a lot of, John's baking. Also, we learnt that Rahul can't say croissant.
Croissant?
Is that Danish?
Crescent.
Crescent? Is that Danish? No, it's French. Oh, I don't know what those are. And Rahul says that a lot.
Yeah, but that's like a white person going, "Oh, is that Pakistani or Indian?" You know, like it's all white people from a continent close to each other.
Yeah, well, but again, I'd argue croissant's a little bit different.
I wouldn't.
It's pretty universally, oh yeah, that's French. Except for Manon, who made it in a Danish Danish showstopper.
That's what I mean. That's probably what confused the shit out of him. He's like, croissants,
There's this
Danish?
French woman in there who just keeps making croissants, but she makes them for everything. I don't quite know what's going on.
It's Japanese week. It's Japanese croissant.
It's full of miso. So, by the way, the drinking game this week, I'd like to...
Stuffed with nigiri.
Oh, God,
Sorry, I was yawning and that came out slow.
It was very slow. I'd like to apologise to a lot of people.
Who you got drunk tonight?
Who got drunk. Made the podcast a bit more interesting. This is what we hit tonight. Baker receives help from other baker. Tick. Noel distracts a baker into making some form of mistake. Tick.
I thought we were just going to just miss that one because Sandy came up and was distracting.
Sandy was doing it, yeah.
I think it was Ruby when she was making... Oh, it was Rahul when, he was making...
And then Noel and Ruby took care of that. We didn't get a handshake. The baker says they've never heard of the bake. That was plentiful.
Look, tonight I'm just glad we avoided any Hollywood slaps because there was a few bakes I'm just thinking...
I was waiting for it. Sandy gives the bakers a bit of a history lesson. We sort of got a couple of those where she gave the definitions and used the...
Told about the kids' party for chopping off the head of a...
Baker runs out of time. Yeah, that happened. A baker who was clearly in trouble does the best showstopper. Well, kind of, because they were all in trouble.
And Briony did a good showstopper.
Briony did a really good showstopper.
Yep.
Booze and a bake.
There was no booze.
No booze and no Hollywood
Dry
handshake.
tent.
But that scene at the end with the pastries of everybody looking into the oven got everyone rip-roaring. So congratulations. Now this is the reason why we're crapping on about the drinking game is I'm about to have to pronounce a bunch of words.
Without going into Swedish chef territory.
I'm not looking forward to them. All right, so here we go. And I'm going to pronounce them as Paul Hollywood.
Okay, go for it.
Because The first one he called a smørbrød. Smørbrød. And it's that smørbrød. Like you can imagine John Lennon saying it. Like, and then he said smørbrød, and it was. How did you find the smørbrød? Turn left to Greenland.
Me and Yoko went down the road for some smørbrød.
That's far too Scottish. That's far too Scottish. That's far too Scottish.
It's John McLennan.
Even
his
by
distant cousin.
Even by Scouse standards, that's far too Scottish. So basically, it's a rye bread, and it was an open sandwich you had to make. As Mr. Burns once famously said to Homer Simpson, use the open face club, the sandwich. Open face club sandwich. And they're like, it's a fancy sandwich and it must look good. And when Ruby at one point goes, but why must it look good? I just want to eat them. And
Ruby, showed us all tonight that as a person from a younger generation, she's obviously not going to be buying a house anytime soon featuring...
so much avocado. So much.
Avo.
So much smashed avo. So Rahul kept up to his tradition of saying that he was doing something that was pretty simple. Because remember... They said that they wanted the sandwich to be simple.
I've just realised the reason why the technical was so short tonight is because
Rahul's explanation.
Rahul's explanation.
Rahul starts explaining what he's doing, and they're all just sitting there. They're all looking a bit bored.
I think he was re-stumping a house halfway through it.
Paul Hollywood went out and took one of his cars for a bit of a drive, rotated the tyres. Came back in, he's still going. Okay, watched the Liverpool game.
Sandy filmed an episode of
QI. She filmed 2, actually.
Prue Leith walked into a patisserie and went, hello, I'm Prue Leith.
We'll come back to Paul's impression of Prue. Now, she wrote another novel in the meantime. Just went out the back. Just
erotic fiction.
Scrambled an erotic fiction down. Came back and he was still talking about what the hell he was doing. And what the hell he was actually making was smoked salmon and roasted vegetable. That doesn't seem to take that long. Like, seriously, at one point, all this preparation, he found himself way behind the 8 ball for what he was doing. And when he's doing the setup, it's like, now this is a layer of pumpkin. I'm like, dude...
It's like those times when you go into a sandwich place and they've got some big phenomenal name, like either a sandwich or a pizza that's got some really long fancy name, like Papa Joe's, a Mediterranean delight, and it just turns out to be a pepperoni pizza.
Yeah. Yeah, like absolutely
with olives.
Now, they had 3 hours for this one. Now, what I did find interesting, and Austenite raised it as well on Twitter, but we saw it as I looked at it at the time as well. Was they mentioned that this is a bread that's usually made overnight, and then when you have 3 hours, sure, why not? Because sure. Now Ruby raised her quantity. Paul was doing his usual Paul Hollywood things. He was quizzing everybody on quantities of their bread and their water and their flour ratios, and he starts questioning Ruby, and Ruby answers with the questions, and Paul then goes silent. So what? He's like, I'm not going to tell you. And it was so Paul Hollywood tonight.
Ruby's existence started to be questioned.
Yep, she doubted herself. She didn't know who she was. It was a bit like Back to the Future.
What would you put into it, Paul? How much water would you put into it? He's like, I can't.
It was a bit like Back to the Future. Like she saw her hand disappearing slowly. There was her sister who she made the dedication. She disappeared from a photo completely. Good news was Ruby was eventually able to play at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. That was really important. She managed to... It was a bit like the moment in Back to the Future where he does suddenly bounce back up and springs to life and continues to play guitar and looks at his hand and waves it to his father.
Although her mum did think her name was Victoria's Secret.
That is true. That is true. Ruby and Briony were both using chorizo, so that instantly made them favourites of mine.
Yes.
And also... Briony is doing the rundown of what she was making in her one, and Briony's making what was she referred to as a Spanish and West Country. Now, they're not two regions that normally go together, except for people from the West Country who are going to Ibiza in the Mediterranean zone.
However, what I liked is that she decided that she would actually use bread the size of the West Country.
That must have been the West Country bit. Or was it Spain?
The Mediterranean.
Or was it Spain?
To serve it on. Like she said thin slices. She's like, I want this to be a little bit different.
What I really liked about this part too is that Briony is explaining what's in this bake, and casually she drops the phrase "tomato swan," and Noel looks at her and laughs, and she goes, "You think I'm kidding, don't you?" Cut back to about 2 minutes later. She's made a fucking tomato swan.
I know, and they were kissing.
They were kissing tomato swans. And Noel just walks back with this look on his face like, even I didn't dream that up. And then when he was talking to her, he turns around and he goes, so what's next? Are you going to make a radish goose? And I kind of secretly wanted a radish goose.
I just want an assortment of waterfowl now, or just fowl in general. Like you like a cucumber stalk. That's what I suggested on Twitter.
Capsicum chicken.
A capsicum chicken, a carrot duck.
That'd be interesting.
Yes.
People
want ducks.
People want ducks. People like ducks. Rahul then, after his long-winded explanation about what he was making, which turned out to be very straightforward, but he made it complex, he then made it worse by, and this is a phrase that was straight out of his mouth, I'm just making some cheese as if I'm not mad enough. Now, I'm starting to feel like Rahul is, I want to say overreaching, but I think that's an understatement.
I think it stems from his insecurity in that he's not sure how to balance the whole having to prove himself by, showing his skills with sense.
There's an issue. There's a bit of an issue for poor Rahul at the moment with his confidence. As Paul sort of said, his confidence is a bit shot, and it seems to have deserted him a little bit. Yeah. It's very fragile anyway. But the other thing you've got to do is you've got to walk a very fine line, as Manon found out tonight, between going very simple and going so far over the top that it's a bit stupid. Ruby's got the balance spot on at the moment.
Yeah,
Ruby's in a very sweet spot, and most of the time Kim Joy's in about the same sweet spot.
So if you think about this, how this the signature was set up. Okay, so traditionally the rye bread would take 24 hours to create, but by putting it down to 3 hours, they're now getting the bakers to challenge themselves in terms of how do I alter this
to make it work.
And to make it work in
Which
this
Rahul
time.
didn't do.
No, because he just went, this is the right way and I've got to do it as authentically as possible.
Before he baked it, everyone else's looked like a dough and his looked like a potato. Like it actually looked like a solid potato. And they cut to
Looks
Rahul.
like you as a newborn.
It did. They cut to Rahul.
Yeah.
And Rahul's going, this doesn't look right at all. And everyone's just looking at it going, ooh.
Because as we know, in our Doctor Who relationship, I'm the clever one, you're the potato.
I'm the potato.
Yes.
I am the potato. Now, Manon decided that she was going to go sweet when everyone else was going savoury, which in hindsight probably should have been a warning.
I think she could have gone a little bit... You can make that savoury. Like if she did the Gruyere with the cream cheese or, the mascarpone.
Yeah.
Instead of the mascarpone, maybe half mascarpone, half cream cheese with the Gruyere, throw that on, and then balsamic reduction on those strawberries. Probably would have made that a little bit more...
Would have made it more like a bruschetta.
Yeah, but it's... Yeah,
it wouldn't have been a bad thing.
You just need a topping that's not so
Manon,
sweet.
this was... I kind of felt like this is where... This is almost where Manon lost it in this one challenge. And we'll get to it.
Look, she just had a downhill trajectory,
We'll get to it when we break it down when we get to the final challenge.
Break it down.
But I kind of think... Look at you scratching.
That was my butt. I was trying to do that discreetly.
Other.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Hip DJ. What I thought was really interesting, though, was I actually think that the reason Manon was sent home was not because of quality of baking. I think she was sent home because she ignored 2 challenges. This is the first one. She didn't make what they asked for.
Well, it came out as a French bread, as Paul said.
And that's what Paul said. What you've done is you've made a French bread. You haven't made the rye that we want you to make, that is this bread. And I think that Manon tonight, I don't think she went home because of quality of baking, although it wasn't good. I think she's gone home because she ignored challenges.
Well, she didn't feel the brief.
No, exactly. Now, she used gorgonzola and goat's cheese with fruit. And Paul asked her at this point, now, when you've done this test, does it reach the sides? And Manon went, no. And Paul just looked and said nothing. And then walked away. And Manon just went, and went back to what she was doing.
Now, I was a bit worried about Ruby because of her mini bread, but I'm thinking, but every time I've seen Rye, it's always been smaller.
Yeah, Rye loaves are not huge. Unlike Briony's, which was fucking massive.
But as we know, she was trying to make it the size of the West Coast.
The West Country. She was trying to...
West Country, not a West Coast cooler.
No, not a West Coast cooler. But what was really interesting was Kim Joy had a really good rise on hers, but that was kind of a sign that you didn't make a rye. Ruby's didn't rise to the level that she thought it would. But again, when they
like a phoenix.
No, it didn't.
Out of the ashes.
Thank you very much there.
Restitution you will want. I'm just going to Conchita whenever I can.
She's got a Conchita, yeah. She has to Conchita. It's in the contract. Look, the only way we can get her to do this series, more Conchita.
Yes.
So, Ruby, when Paul judged it, Ruby's was a very tight bake, but it's a rye. It's supposed to be a tight bake. So everyone else got this lot of space in theirs, and it was full and aerated, and Paul's tasted it and gone, that's not a rye. And then he's had Ruby's and gone, that's perfect.
You know why? All the other bread went awry.
Oh, that's why you're going with that. Yar, someone should be keelhauled for that one.
We thought you said awry, not a rye.
I love, by the way, that Noel offered her the excuse of perspective.
Just tell them it's in the distance.
Yeah, just tell them it's in the distance. My notes simply said, and this is a phrase I wrote a lot tonight, Rahul's looked burnt. It's true. He burnt everything.
But the baking gods appreciate that. Generally, gods like things when you burn it for them.
I couldn't get over the amount of things that Rahul burnt in this episode. It was staggering. And the more he tried not to, the worse he burnt things. It was amazing. Briony's looked incredible. Again, it looked about the size of the West Country.
But just no time to cool it down, really.
So, and then as she was trying to rush everything, she dropped her swans.
Oh!
And everyone in the room gasped, and everyone's like, oh no, oh no, oh no, and they played the dramatic music. But then you just heard Briony go, well, they've looked better. She clearly didn't give a shit. Oh, well, I dropped the swans. Fuck it.
It's like swans before their night out, swans after their night out.
But there was a problem with...
That's where the booze was tonight.
It was. Swans were drinking it. 2 swans are drinking. But what was the problem with Briony's was when she's cut the sandwich, the size of the bread, she cut a fucking big sandwich.
It really is like when you first start out buying whole loaves as a kid and you're like, oh my God, I get to cut my own slice. And you're like, well, obviously a bigger slice is better.
Yeah.
So you do that. And then you're like, oh, just got to make a big wedge of cheese to put on there. And so you end up with this fucking hamburger looking sandwich. And then you bite into it and then you realise
it's too much.
It's too much. Just the proportions are out.
See, for me, it was always when we made bread at home when I was younger. And we made bread.
We made bread.
In a fucking bread maker.
Okay.
In the bread maker that's sitting on our shelf over there because I borrowed it.
Bread maker. You know what we had?
What?
We had Mum going, get $2 out of my purse and go down and get some bread from the corner shop.
To be fair, like everything else, we bought the bread maker and then didn't really use it that much. Hi, Mum. I know you listen. And before you go, yes, we did, Mum. How often did we use the pie maker? We lost the rings for it and we stopped because you couldn't make the pastry the right size. Anyway, I'm delving. And you know what the funny part is? Mum will be listening to this in the car because she listens on the way down to rehearsals at Bankstown Theatrical. And she'll be listening in the car on the way down there and going, oh my God, he's bagging out our appliance history.
Is this the Snoopy rehearsal?
Yes.
Do-do-do. Trying to do the Snoopy music.
All she can hear in this segment is wah, 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 wah. Anyway.
I have to say, though, that the tradition of buying appliances that aren't used that often
We had cupboards
still
full.
going. But you know what? I really appreciate it because the other day we got the use of the deli slicer.
We did get used to the deli slice. The deli slice is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Aldi, go for it. But no, when we used to make the bread at home, and like they'd go, you can cut a loaf, a piece of bread yourself once it's hot, and I would always, without fail, cut like half the bread, and think to myself, well, it squashes down because it's fresh, so that's a good slot. No, it wasn't. It was half a fucking loaf of bread. I was yeasted beyond all recognition.
Yeast.
Trying
to do like yeet.
It's their own version of yeet.
I learned a cool saying by kids today.
Yeet is not cool.
Isn't it?
Well, it is, but...
yeast. You got to get that whole thing in it, like yeet. That's what I learnt today.
That sounds so much like a high school student. It's a bit scary.
It was hilarious. There were 5 older white women sitting in a room discussing colloquialisms of the youth today. Yeah, that went down really well.
That sounds like a hip conversation.
It's happening.
With it, mama. Okay, so, Ruby, Paul actually cut a slice of the bread. It was really funny because, like, they cut the sandwiches, but then Paul goes over and cuts a slice of the bread himself, and Ruby's like, oh, God. And he's like, actually, that's the perfect size of the bread. That's the perfect density. This is exactly what we needed to do. The flavour is good. The structure is good. It's very well balanced. And he referred to her bread, and I quote this directly, as a celebration of rye. See, I thought that whiskey was a celebration of rye.
He better be careful saying things like that if he wants to get into, like, Australia, particularly into New South Wales at the moment. Any kind of celebration.
It's like a festival.
Any kind of festival. Anything
No, that's
fun.
why he called it a celebration of rye, not a festival of rye.
Festival of rye, he would be banned from New South Wales.
The Festival of Rye sounds like a 3-day sort of bender on the level of... You know...
The potatoes in the park.
Yes.
Potatoes
in the park.
I like it to be Rye and Rydal Me.
The Rye and Rydal
Me Festival.
Oh, God. Manon...
The Rye and Ralston Festival.
Manon...
Because that's close to Capity, so they can have a competing
festivals. Manon, they said there was more density needed in her bread. No shit, Sherlock. The rye flavour wasn't strong. It's too sweet. And then Paul just goes, you've made a French loaf. So, look, if I'm Paul Hollywood, I probably would have led with that. Look, this is a French loaf. And then talked about it. Not go, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You know why? French loaf. Boom. Kim Joy.
Yes.
The texture was good. It looked good. The flavour was good.
Need more seeds.
More seeds, but they said that the dill and the fish made it look authentic.
Yes.
Also, its love of gritty crime dramas.
I think it was its marshalling, gathering the Viking tribes together to go and invade Ireland.
Its hosting ability of QI and no bounds. Briony. This is where we got the Hollywood moment of the night. When he's like looking at the size of the bread and he starts off by going, I can just see it now. Prue walks into the bakery and goes, and with hands swishing and goes, I'd like a sandwich.
Now this came after Noel describing how he caught Paul allegedly in his trailer wearing a tutu.
Yeah.
And what was he doing?
Book on Unicorns.
Oh, that's right.
Which he dropped for a car magazine.
Yes, yeah.
And so Paul's response is, I'd like a sandwich. And it was like, you can just see this, like, Paul's been working on this clearly. Like, he's been practicing this impression going, gotta bust it out at some point.
He's probably been doing drag lessons with Noel.
Gotta be. Gotta be.
What do you reckon Paul Hollywood's drag name would be? Because Paul Hollywood...
Regina Hollywood. Clearly. So they said the bread was...
Or will it be Hollywood?
Hollywood? Nah, it's going to be Regina Hollywood because he'd keep his name because he's that much of an egomaniac. He'd keep his name.
That's true, yeah.
All right, so they said that the bread was way too thick. They said there wasn't much rye. It was more a malted loaf. So what, was it Milo or...
No, do you remember the malted ice cream?
Yes.
Oh, they were so good.
See, I love when we've talked about it before. I love the Vienna chocolate.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. The Vienna chocolate.
The Vienna chocolate,
yeah, with the
which had a
malted.
little bit of vanilla. Mostly it was malted chocolate with the malt on top.
Yeah.
And the chocolate pieces through it.
It's perfect.
And, it was wonderful. It was lovely. We used to go for a walk when we lived when we lived near Sefton in Miscellaneous City. And we'd do a long walk down to the corner shop and we'd get a
Sefton
Vienna
Playhouse?
chocolate. Not to the Sefton Playhouse, no. Mum, I don't know what that is. Kristie is confusing me with these references. Anyway.
I presume it's puppet shows.
Gotta be. The Sefton,
Punch and Judy.
featuring the Sefton players.
How goes the baby?
Anyway, so no, it was. We go for a walk down to the corner shop, and there'd be a Vienna chocolate, and I get that, and then walk all the way back, and then we sit down and watch It's a Knockout.
Oh, after you watch Punch and Judy going,
It was the name of the game.
Yeah.
So, the fish was also too dry. Rahul. Now, they opened by saying...
this is terrible bread.
No, well, they opened by saying it's almost like a cake.
Oh, there we go.
Then it's a bit of a mess. Then the bread is awful. Then it got better. It's turning back to dough in my mouth. Followed by, it's reminding me of a sandwich I once had in Copenhagen. I'm eating around it because I don't think the bread is entirely edible. Ta-da!
This bread is essentially from the backwards episode of Red Dwarf.
On Rumble!
Unbread.
But the line that got me was, this is turning back into dough in my mouth. Was just... And then they cut to... They did the interviews and Rahul was like, that was terrible, that was horrible, blah, blah, blah. And they cut to Briony and Briony's in tears going, that was really harsh. That was really, really bad. That was really harsh. I might be a little bit controversial with this statement. Wasn't.
No.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was really... And the interesting thing is, and Austenite and a couple of others have pointed this out again tonight on Twitter, there's been a bit of an argument online in the last few weeks that the judges have been a bit soft on them. And like a lot of Hollywood handshakes for things and stuff like that. And that this is almost like a redressing the balance because they've worked out suddenly it's quarterfinal week and But the thing is, it's quarterfinal week. You should know what the fuck you're doing by now.
The other thing too is that the quality of the bakes tonight weren't strong.
Yeah.
And I'm fine about that because they were challenges, it was actually challenging.
I like the fact that it was challenging. I like the fact that they made them actually have to think. I like the fact they made them do something. Like they couldn't just cruise on this one.
No.
And I enjoyed that element of this week, which is where we'll get to the technical.
Yeah, but there just wasn't enough pillaging of monasteries, really.
Well, that's a part of the problem. Look, they could have done that with the technical.
Exactly, come on.
The technical could have been, there's a monastery here, your job is to pillage it before the locals notice. That could have been a technical, because that's a technical challenge. But instead, we decided to go with a combination that has stood the test of time, regardless of country. Apple.
Yes.
And cinnamon. Together at last. Well, they're always fucking well together.
In ball form.
In ball form, we'll come back to the innuendo about that in a minute. I referred to them basically as poffages, but with like stuff in them, because that's what they are,
Stuffed
basically.
poffages.
They're stuffed poffages.
But they're called something else. So
They're called Ableskiver.
Ableskiver.
Apleskiver.
Apleskiver.
Yes, because it's an apple skiver, so it's
Okay, apple.
Apleskiver.
It's an apple skiver.
Yeah, apple skiver. Well, that's sort of what Paul said.
You eat it's like a Hogwarts thing, right? It's like the skiver box that you can buy from the Weasleys, except this is the apple tasting one, and it looks like a normal apple, but you eat it makes you sick. You can skive off class.
I like your logic. Makes sense. Yeah, except Paul's Liverpudlian delivery of all of this shit was so good. I can't do it justice. Go rewatch it and just marvel in Paul saying Danish words as a Liverpudlian. It's so damn good. The closest I've ever got to this was Liverpool had a Danish centre-back called Daniel Agger, and listening to him try to understand what Jamie Carragher, the very, very Liverpudlian centre-back, was saying next to him was brilliant. And having him say Scouse words in that Danish accent, it just doesn't fucking seem like it's a language. Any of it. The Danish seems more like a language than the Liverpudlian.
Now, I know this was a very short technical.
Really short.
But it's redeeming feature was finally we get some innuendo. It's
about fucking time.
Little bit of wink, wink, nudge, nudge going on with Kim Joy greasing some balls.
I've just got to grease these balls.
Yeah.
Then you had Ruby cutting open the balls.
Yes.
Because the filling needed to be in there.
Stuffing the balls.
She needed to stuff the balls with filling because she forgot to stuff the balls with filling. I love when I love when Noel went over to Rahul and looked at him trying to make his apple, and he looks at it and goes, "The filling looks like baby sick." To be honest with you, it's not the worst looking thing that Rahul made all night.
And you know what? It would still smell better than baby sick.
It would definitely smell better.
Stale milk.
Now, poor Kim Joy. Kim Joy was trying to work out what the hell to do, but had no idea. So she was looking at everybody else. But that wasn't really useful because there was only one person in the room who actually knew what it was, which was Manon.
Yeah.
But Manon's logic for why she knew what it was felt like a really long bow.
Why?
It was, my sister dated a Danish guy once.
No, that's true. Like, my sister dated an Italian guy once, so there's a few things that I'd never seen before that I got to see. Not Italian balls. Or actually, yeah, I did get to see really good Italian balls because his mum...
Man that makes meatballs.
Yeah, his mum makes...
I've even seen those.
She's on YouTube, Pia Cucina. She's fucking delicious too.
I can highly recommend that too.
Yeah, and the like the dumplings, like the anchovies and the sultana stuffing, like separate. Like, yeah, I get the anchovy ones or the sultana.
I was going to say anchovy and sultana. There's lots of people out there going, I'm questioning your taste.
Yeah, no. They were separate and they were delicious too. So,
but it was a really short challenge.
Yes.
It was very, because like we were sitting there and I'm just settling into the challenge. And it finishes with Rahul doing that just random shaking of the powdered sugar. And he's still shaking it when they go... And it looked like Rahul was like, what? We've only just started.
The hand gesture you're doing right now really fits into this technical
It was
innuendo.
the one that Rahul did.
I'm just
playing to Rahul. I'm playing to Rahul. So it was interesting because I thought this is the first challenge where the bakers didn't want Sandy anywhere near them.
Shaking out some white stuff.
Thank you.
Just saying.
This is the first challenge that the bakers didn't want Sandy
Although
anywhere.
generally, if you do that and it comes out in powder form, you should be going to the doctor because that's not good.
Get checked.
At
Gentlemen.
least drink some water because you've
powdered.
very dehydrated.
You powdered. Anyway.
I wonder if it rehydrates then.
So this is the first challenge.
Set it up with astronauts.
So this is the first challenge where the bakers didn't want Sandy Toksvig anywhere near their benches.
Chicken soup's a bit strange. Whoops, that's not the chicken soup.
We're off the rails, folks. We're off the rails. I can't see the track.
Like the ants.
I can't see the
In
track.
The Simpsons. Do, 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 do. Doing just little wiggly things.
This was a really short challenge. And the review of it's going longer than the challenge did.
And then you can
there's far
another
more
mashup. You can go sperm in space and turn it into a Muppets show.
There's far more mention of bodily fluids than there ever has been on this show.
That's a record. I need to add more like smegmo comments.
No!
Why not?
You really don't.
Felching. Let's move on.
Anyway, hi, Mum.
Hello, Mrs. Buchanan.
so
I'm your daughter-in-law.
So this is the first challenge where the bakers didn't want Sandy anywhere near them because she knew the challenge inside out. And she's coming over going, you probably don't want me standing here. And they're like, not really, no.
And this is the point I thought we're going to just miss the, a host distracting a baker thing.
Well, what they were doing at one point where they had... Because they were setting them up and they were doing like the test of the heat. And I'm like, okay, so they'll do a test. And then they'll work on their dough a bit more. And then, no, that was them making them. And I thought, well, they're just testing what they're going to do. And then the next thing you know, they've put the apple in the middle and put the stuff on top. Or in Ruby's case, they've cooked them and cut them open and thrown an apple inside it and covered it back up again like no one would notice.
A little, what's it called, amateur vasectomy going on there.
A little bit of it. And suddenly the challenge is over. And I'm like, that was weird. So when they did the judging, so I said Ruby cheated and cut the thing open and went, no one will notice this, will they? And the first thing is Paul Hollywood walks up, picks it up and goes, someone's cut this open and filled it with apple.
She's just standing there as it's going on going, I can't see a hole. I can't see a hole.
And the comment was that it was a bit stodgy.
Where's the hole?
It was a bit stodgy, but the sauce wasn't a dipping sauce. It was a bit thick.
It's like a jam.
A bit more like a jam. Briony's, they said, looked neater, had a really good sauce, and they said overall pretty good. Mm-hmm. Kim Joy's, they said not a perfect set, which is not what you want to hear about your balls.
But, you know, I've never seen any that are, like, equal. Like, has anyone seen
they're not supposed
like
to be.
natural balls?
They're not supposed to be.
No, it's like boobs. They're not supposed to be perfectly.
But yeah, they're not.
Unless you're paying for them.
Let's go back to QI for a minute because, you know, Sandy Togsvig and all that. But, I mean, Stephen Fry was hosting this at the time. But, again, Aristotle and that believed that it was the weighting of the balls and they believed that it was a pulley system.
Really?
And, yeah, that's what Aristotle and all the Greek philosophers used to believe, that the balls were weighted and it was a pulley system.
Like, which side's coming up?
And there is actually, I can't remember which side is which, but in Greek statues, one is always slightly lower than the other. Oh. And it's actually got purpose behind it.
Wow.
It's about virility. So, see, we've managed to link it into something educational. It's not just about Kristie making jokes about smegma. So...
But did you know you can buy fake balls for when you get your dog desexed?
Yes, I did know you could buy fake balls.
Because when I got Leo desexed, our lovely dog...
He didn't need them.
No, he really didn't. But, like, there's, like, pamphlets.
So your dog's got no balls. Doesn't matter. He still humps everything.
Look, unless they were going to like be glowy and like play a tune.
I don't want them playing it. I don't want them playing a tune. I'd never hear the end of it. No, it's going to be your grand old flag. Anyway,
he's humping something.
Yeah, my humps.
Pony.
Leo picks up. Our dog Leo has this thing for tarpaulins. Anyway, he picks up a tarpaulin, and all we hear is bam, 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 bam.
There it goes again.
Oh God, Leo, get away from it. Anyway, Kim Joy's. Some aeration needed in the things. There was a lot of apple, and they were a bit stodgy again because of the way the dough had set. Rahul. Now, they opened up by saying the word serious issues. And then they followed that up by saying, I can taste burnt.
His balls are a bit brown.
And they said that the burning and the way that they hadn't cooked properly through the middle, but it burned on the outside, they said that was the heat. He'd gone far too hot with the temperature.
Being racist against his balls. Just because his balls were darker than other people's.
I don't want to say everything I'm going to say next because I know we're never getting out of this segment.
Come on.
It's the shortest challenge ever, and this is going forever. Manon has size issues. There you go. Enjoy it. It's yours. It's yours.
Yeah, she did make tiny balls. Inconsistent tiny balls. Yeah.
Bitch. Temperature wasn't good.
They weren't great balls.
So in the judging, Rahul was a very easy fifth. Manon was fourth. Ruby was third. Kim Joy was second, and Briony was first. And it wasn't even close. Like Briony was easily first. Now, this is again one of the reasons why when we get to the end of this, I'm looking for reasons why Manon went home. Because so far, Rahul, in the first two challenges, has burnt both of them. Completely burnt both of them. Not even close. And it wasn't like the third one was beautifully raw. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce the official Danish name of the birth cake.
I just call it the Danish execution kids cake.
I think it was the catch made or the catch gone. So I did try to pronounce it after all that. Well done, Buchan. So now traditionally you make this to look vaguely like a loved one.
And I celebrate by chopping off their head. And
scream when you do it, which is cool. I like that bit. I'm a bit concerned by what some of these look like about the people in these people's lives. Possibly they're just not a good likeness in pastry. The other possibility is maybe they hang around with a lot of disjointed, disfigured people. Have we ever thought of that?
But do you know what might have been triggering for Manon? I mean, she's French. Is it culturally insensitive to behead something in front of a French person?
No, it's a very important part of their culture, it turns out.
But what if she's like descended from like ousted.
She's probably not admitting it.
Yeah, exactly. She can't.
She's probably not admitting it. So they decided that it had to be a cake shaped like a boy or girl, and you needed to include 3 different types of confectionery skills. Now, you know what would come in handy at this point in time if you're doing 3 different types of confectionery skills?
What?
A subscription.
What to?
If only there was a magazine from Australia
Yes.
that was digital and dealt with sugarcraft.
Oh, Sugarcraft. Oh, no, I'll show you what I've been doing.
Oh, what have you been doing?
I'll just get out my craft box and...
What the hell's that?
Oh, it's sugar-dipped macaroni necklaces.
Oh, my God, that's amazing. How did you come up with that?
Well, it wasn't from Australian Sugarcraft magazine because I thought I'd just go it alone. And I then realised when I was trying to put it on a cake, it didn't quite work.
Oh, crap, it just broke.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
I'm going to have to subscribe. And
You're going to
really
have to subscribe. Look, Kristie,
Yeah.
it's only for $19.90.
I spent more than that
On the macaroni alone.
macaroni alone.
That's expensive macaroni. Is that gold dipped?
It's, yeah, gold sugar dipped.
Did you get that from Michelle Adonis? Does she know?
It's Adonis macaroni.
It's Adonis macaroni, the greatest macaroni in the land. Anytime is a good time to subscribe to Australian Sugarcraft magazine. You don't have to have your macaroni sugar dip necklace break.
No.
Right? Anytime is a good time. It is a biannual magazine.
Yeah, up your sugar-dipped macaroni skills.
Yes, you can do all of those sorts of things. It is a quality colour digital magazine.
And it's produced here in Australia by Australia's best sugar crafters.
It is indeed.
So says me.
There are full step-by-step tutorials. There's recipes, there's tips, there's ideas, there's pictures of cake designs. You can't have that one, though. It's a Lady Baltimore cake.
And you might hear something from insiders and fellow diners.
Lots of things from insiders and fellow diners. I don't really care for cake. Too sweet.
What do you reckon the horoscopes are? Do you think there's like an Australian a baking astrology? Like
Shoe. Crock and bush, which is the developed version of shoe. It's when you're in the cusp. Yeah. It's like when shoe is in the cusp of sugar, it's crock and bush. So make sure that you manage, unlike a lot of these people who really could have done with it, to subscribe to Australian Sugarcraft magazine. That is found at facebook.com/Australian Sugarcraft.
And you too will know when creme patisserie goes into retrograde.
Always important to know that. You don't want to be doing things and have it go into retrograde without knowing. Really important. So the other problem they had with this, apart from their lack of confectionery skills in some cases, was that they were making Danish pastry in a very hot tent.
It was, and this is the trouble that we find, and I just presume it's because you can't get aircon going, like
Britain, they don't normally have a call for it.
Climate change.
It's a balmy and hot 27-degree day. However will they cope?
That's very true.
Like the sun's out. It's one of the 4 days. So Briony made her nanapat.
Which is so adorable.
It was adorable, and then she put a pearl necklace on her, and it got creepy.
Yeah, it's. I think there's possible special websites dedicated to granddaughters putting pearl necklaces on their grandmothers, but it's not for this.
Now
this classy podcast we put together.
No, we're very classy.
Totes classy.
Now Rahul,
Felching.
He almost had a moment that we've lived in Australian Bake Off. He almost had his mixer walk off the bench and onto the floor.
It's walking.
It's walking away. Now it didn't quite get to barb levels.
No,
where it managed to fall on the floor and keep mixing. But I think we were heading that way pretty damn quickly. And then Kim Joy was over talking to Noel. They cut to Noel and Kim Joy talking. Not a pairing we've seen a lot of, and I think we should see more of it because it's got potential to be a bit balmy, that one. And Kim Joy's worrying about getting through to the final, and Noel looks at her and goes, I'm not even sure that I'm getting through to the final.
Next week. And it's time to say goodbye to
Noel.
He gives Sandy a hug.
Noel just looks and goes, it's fair enough, really.
I probably am the worst baker in this tent.
Now, this is where we had a couple of people making bad decisions, although one of them paid off, it turned out. Ruby decided she was going to put marzipan on top of the Danish. And Paul went, is that a good idea? At which point Sandy's like, don't listen to him. Look at me. Look at me. Don't listen to him. I'm over here. You do you.
Yeah. Ruby's still trying to put herself together after the water.
First one, yeah. After the first incident, again, her hand has just come back.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, I'm going again. So Manon, we had a brief interlude where they cut to Manon who just went, I'm so sticky. And then they went back off her.
That's what she said.
And that led to...
Greasy balls.
No, well, this led to the most surreal conversation in Bake Off this year. It was Noel saying to Rahul, I believe in you. I am the Yoda to your Luke Skywalker. And Rahul goes, what's that? And Noel goes, have you seen Star Wars? And Rahul goes, I've never seen Star Wars. And then I think he called him Luke Skysaber. And Noel went, what did you just call him? Luke what? Like he was pushing, and Rahul's like, I don't know. And then Noel's like, you were probably too busy doing astrophysics while I was watching Star Wars. But then Rahul announced that he was going to put buttercream on top of the pastry. And Paul Hollywood stopped him dead and went, what? Why would you do that? It's about the Danish pastry.
Yeah, and you're about to slather it in sugary buttercream.
It goes back to the idea that I think a lot of the time when they don't know what they're doing, they just default to habits. Speaking of defaulting to habits, Manon decided she was going to go with plain pastry.
That's not a Danish.
And she then decided that she was going to make a pain au chocolat.
Oh, it's French.
Definitely not Danish. And the others were just going to be normal plain pastries. And she looked at Paul, and the way she said this was really weird. She looked at me and goes, I like plain pastry. And I'm like, are you challenging him to send you home? Because I think she did.
It just wasn't.
It was weird.
It wasn't a defeatist thing. It was just...
It was overconfidence.
Overconfidence and really shit decision making.
And what was really funny about it was she tried to show off by saying, I've used Danish butter and high five Sandy, at which point Paul looked at her and went, why? Danish butter is horrible for this. You needed to use French. At which point Manon's gone, what? Really?
And then Prue's like, she's already made a pastry.
Yeah. And then Prue told him off for like, why did you say this now? She's already made her pastry. But I loved the way she tried to show off by going, I used Danish butter, and Paul Holly was like, why? It's terrible.
Yeah, but I didn't even know that different butters have different melting points. Like, that's news to me. I mean, maybe bakers should know it, but...
I would probably assume that people in quarterfinals of Bake Off should have an idea.
No. It's kind of obscure.
Not if you're in the quarterfinals of Bake Off, it's not.
Okay.
Anyway, Kim Joyce just looked creepy. I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
And, like, Sandy even went, that is a little creepy. Because she drawn a full face on the marzipan.
I thought it was so cute and pretty when it was all put together.
Well, when it was all put together it was, but it looked a bit like Night of the Living Dead.
It was like a dismembered doll head.
Then we got...
It's like Annabelle.
It was very Annabelle. Then we got...
Hi, I'm Chucky.
We got the latest episode. We got the latest episode of Australia's favourite television show.
The
Nolan Ruby show.
Newbie.
In the freezer. I like to think that Troubles in the Freezer is the name of their difficult third studio album. But Ruby's got the truffles in the freezer, and I was like, what's that over there? That's small. That's a sad little truffle. She goes, it's a baby truffle. He's like, it looks a little sad. So then she starts rearranging them and reclumping them in the freezer. And I was like, why are you listening to me for? I don't know what I'm doing.
You're in my head. And you know, at that time, he probably was literally in her head.
Probably.
They're practicing for their, like,
expanding iguanas.
Yeah.
But I just think Truffles in the Freezer is a perfect third album. And then Rahul, and this gives you an idea of just how far out of it Rahul was. He's talking while he's doing the process, and he goes, I need to make one head. And then he paused and he went, obviously, humans only have one head.
Do you reckon? Rahul, like, he says he's from India, which, you know, gives him a pass on certain cultural references. But do you think he's actually an alien and he had to remind himself that humans only have one head?
Possibly, because, I mean, his emotional reactions to things between success and failure are actually quite... In fact, if anything, I thought he was a bit brighter after he thought he'd failed miserably.
But this is the thing, maybe the whole reason
That's why you can't regulate emotion.
He's so hard on himself is his whole planet has pulled their resources to get him to Earth to go on Bake Off.
He's the Alexander Hamilton of an alien race.
He is.
The island pulled their resources to send Hamilton to America. The planet has pulled their resources and sent Rahul to Earth.
Yeah, because he was such a big Bake Off fan.
To learn baking ways.
You know, and they really enjoyed his pastries and...
infiltrate the Bake Off tent.
Cakes and stuff. And they're like, oh, we need, you know... And they're like, well...
We need a glass platter. Can you go down and win us one, please?
Yes.
Why can't we just make it? We're an advanced alien race. I know what I want. Go and get it.
Authenticity. It's all the rage.
I want the one from Paul Hollywood, please.
Yes, Emperor Zenobonobon.
So Noel then looked at Manon's bake, which was being assembled at the time, and went, that looks like Operation. And what was the name of it?
Crazy Doctor.
Yeah, Crazy Doctor in French.
Le Crazy Docteur.
Then Kim Joy...
Ooh la la.
Kim Joy made a decision that...
It doesn't go zzz, it goes... Zzz.
He goes, oui, no, 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 I go for smoke. Okay, so Kim Joy made a decision that at the time seemed to amazingly work when it shouldn't have, and then it turned out it didn't. She decided that it was so hot in the tent that she didn't need to prove the pastry.
She had nothing to prove.
Exactly. She had nothing to prove, and she should just put it straight in the oven.
Well, that didn't work.
Didn't quite work because it was very underproved and the bake failed horribly.
No, it looked pretty. It wasn't too bad.
The dough was terrible when they ate it, and, like, it's an eating thing. But everyone looked thoroughly confused when she went, I'm going to bake it. Like, they're like, what the hell are you doing? That's weird. Whereas Kim Joy's appeared at the start to have worked, it was clear that Rahul and Manon's had not worked.
No.
Because they both burnt everything.
Yeah.
In fact, Rahul went, this one's a bit under, put it back in the oven, and the next thing you hear is Briony going, I can smell burning, followed by Rahul going, oh no, oh no.
That's when it went into, like, you know, Prue's Nashing go, it tastes like burning.
Then Briony, of course, gave Nana the pearl necklace.
And a nice dress.
Complete with the quote, I don't know how proud she'll be about...
purse.
I don't know how proud she'll be about this pearl necklace, but she's getting it.
It was obviously natural
That's
pearls.
what she said. Yeah. And then Rahul finished his bake, and they went, like, that's it, done. And he stepped back, he looked at it, and he just went, that's terrible. That was all he said. That was it. All right, so the judging.
But then again, you know, his terrible is still better than what a lot of other people's good would be.
100%. But, look, I kind of agree with him in this challenge. Ruby, they said it looked really good. The pastry looks good. That it would have benefited from the glaze, not the marzipan. That especially they were talking about an apricot glaze. They said would have really got the flavour and lifted it up.
Yeah.
And they said her honeycomb that she made.
Apricot glaze would have lifted up where it belonged.
That was a long bow. For
the Danish week, making pastries to eat.
That worked. Well done.
Yeah.
Look at you. You rescued it at the end. They said that the honeycomb was great. There was a bit of ginger in her honeycomb as well. And they said it was really nice.
Yum.
Manon. Now they said that the skirt was beautiful that she made on the cake.
The confectionery was good.
They said the confectionery was wonderful.
Professional.
Paul simply asked her if it was just a pain au chocolat, which she sort of went, yeah. Then they did a bit of a technical dive into her pastry because they said, look, the bottom's burnt, but it's not just burnt. The way you've done the butter means that it's all soaked into the bottom of the pan. And what you've actually done is fried the bottom of your pastry. And not on one, you fried the bottom of all of your pastry. At which point, Prue just held up a bottom and went, this has clearly just been soaking in butter for hours.
And now it's congealed.
The sweets were good, but the pastry was poor. It is a pastry challenge.
Yeah.
And Manon kind of had a bit of a filthy look on her face. Kim Joy.
Yes.
Exquisite piping.
Yes.
Legitimately amazing piping.
It was so beautiful. Like, you could have taken that as your date to the opera.
You could have.
Sat it in the box.
And no one would have noticed.
Glasses out.
Yeah. In fact, it would have been more lifelike. It would have been more lifelike than a lot of people at opera.
Yeah, Princess Mary, because of the Danish opera, of course. You know,
of course.
you got to take your Danish opera date to the Danish opera.
While she's cracking some tinnies. Anyway, there were issues with Kim Joy's.
Live from the slip-in, it's Turendot.
I've just got this image of a bar in Tasmania called the Slip-In playing Turendot.
No,
with the full stage from the Sydney Football Stadium production of Turendot.
But you know the slip-in is where she met.
Yes, I know.
The prince.
I know.
Okay, that would go into Tasmania, all right.
I love the idea that they've got all this stuff said. Because the one thing I remember from the news growing up about fucking Turendot was it was on the news for weeks that they had this really elaborate set of Turendot in the middle of a football stadium. And nobody knew what the fuck Turendot was.
No.
There was just this giant sun moving across the football stadium.
Now,
and I like the idea that they've bust it down there.
Is Turendot the one that's set in Egypt?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I did get the right one.
You did?
Yeah.
The Slip-In presents Turendot. That's going to make me laugh for weeks. Seriously, that was freaking brilliant. So anyway, we have to laugh because we're about to get to a sad bit. They told Kim Joy that hers was underproved and soggy, at which point she just burst into tears.
Oh, I just wanted to hug her.
Now, I'm a heartless bastard tonight. I had zero problems with the fact the judges didn't bat an eyelid. Nobody went over and said to her, "Are you okay?" They just finished the judging.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's a quarterfinal. And all they said to her was, it's underproved and a bit soggy, which is what it was.
Yeah.
And yes, it was emotional for her, but Prue looked and you were like, oh, is Prue going to stop here? And Prue just went, no, this is really bad and this is really soggy and this didn't work and this didn't work. And I like the fact that they didn't go with the emotion and worry about it.
Well, this is Bake Off, you know, like we are, how many weeks has it been? They've been under a lot of pressure. We're down to the last 3 weeks. It's, of course, people's emotions are going to be high. So.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I was a bit, I had a couple of weeks ago, we had a bit of a conversation where I thought that obviously Rahul is a very emotional person with a lot of deep-seated issues there. But I also felt that part of the problem was the judges were worried about giving him harsh criticism because they were worried about the emotional reaction. And I'm pleased to see tonight they didn't hold back. They were genuine.
But it's okay to cry. This is the whole thing.
That's it.
People, and I feel that people's reactions, when you're watching something like MasterChef and there's all this fucking hype and drama and shit, it's annoying because it is inauthentic. It is just, what's it called? It's staged. It's just annoying and that's bullshit. But in Bake Off, it's good to see because these are just average people going into an extraordinary situation and having like their emotions acknowledged at least and given, to show that, it's not like the waterworks every week, but it's just,
And to be fair as well...
It's okay to cry sometimes.
And to be fair as well, it is the job of Noel and Sandy to be that buffer. And they were. They rushed over and Sandy was like, let me help you with this. They've been
fantastic.
They've been great. They've actually been really good.
Yeah.
Briony, the extent of her judging, the only thing they showed, they didn't give anything else. It was Paul looking at the necklace and the stuff and going, that looks like sherbet. And then he had a mouthful and went, it is sherbet. And then they cut away. That was it.
Well, they had a bit of Danish and said it was good.
But that was it. Like,
it was the closest to Danish.
Yeah, it's the closest to Danish in the tent, which I actually think means that they got 2 things wrong, but we'll come back to that.
So it goes the first thing closest to Danish in the tent is Sandy.
Yes, she is the most Danish.
Second thing is Briony's showstopper.
Now again, Rahul, Paul opens with, it's just burnt. Was tough and very dry. They said his marzipan was good and the sweets are good. But they said that everything else was horrible. Now, Star Baker, they gave it to Ruby.
Yep, I think that's deserved.
I would have given it,
her bread was great.
I would have given it to Briony.
Why?
I thought that, I mean, she's first in the technical. Her nanopat, there was no bad comment at all about her showstopper. Yes, the first one they had a few issues with the bread, but yeah, look.
But Ruby came second in the technical.
Third in the technical.
Which we know doesn't count anyway. And she had the best sandwich, and you know her showstopper was up there. So.
Yeah, look, I can. It's not a travesty.
Yeah.
The going home. I kind of feel a little bit, and this is not me having a go at him because I think he's brilliant. I kind of think Rahul got a bit of a pass for being Rahul.
But then
past good quality bakes, I think might have carried him a bit more.
He got a pass, but also Manon did not fill the brief twice.
But my issue with that is that they've kept people before off the back of that.
Yeah.
And look, I don't think it's an absolute travesty, but I kind of feel like Rahul is overwhelmingly fortunate that he didn't go home.
Yeah.
Because I thought that he burnt all 3 bakes. Yeah. And it wasn't slightly burnt. They opened with all
It was a medium because the first one he barely cooked. So you even it out.
No, but he managed to burn and undercook at the same time.
That's
it was great skill. So obviously we get Star Baker Ruby and it's Manon who goes home, and nobody looked more surprised than Kim Joy, who thought for sure she was going home and was like, what? And even like Rahul was like, I can't believe I survived that.
Look, Kim Joy was not in danger because of how terrible Manon and
Manon and Rahul. I didn't think, regardless of what happened with her final bake, Manon and Rahul had a horrible week, both of them. Absolutely terrible.
Look, it's going to happen at some point that people have terrible weeks, and it was just this week that there were 2 people who had really shit bakes.
Yeah, normally at this point of the competition, we hope that people are going home just because everyone's really good and like someone has to go.
Yeah.
This week was legitimately a week where there were probably 2 people that could have gone.
Yeah.
Why couldn't this have been the week where they needed to send 2 people home?
Oh, yeah.
It would have been handy because they double clear out. So, next week.
Yes.
Semi-final.
Patisserie
Patisserie.
by the turn.
Next week's patisserie.
Wow.
Always fun.
Well, we got a glimpse of their patisserie skills tonight.
Holy shit, I'm worried. I'm really worried.
Next week's going to be interesting.
It's going to be really interesting. You know what they should do beforehand?
What?
Check out Australian Sugarcraft magazine.
They should indeed.
If only they could go back in a time machine and do that before they get to the semi-final.
Well, you know, there's always time when time machines are invented to actually do that. So.
There is indeed, as you put it, always time. So until next week, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all for Patisserie Week in the semi-final.
Smegma.